My name is Ariel, and I just started my first job as a project manager. When I was a student,
So you need a website. Go to Fiverr. Get your website design, content writing, and digital marketing to boost traffic easy. For every step your business takes, Fiverr, freelance services on demand.
you go. You hear me? Checking the mail. Check it 1, 2. This one is. What do you read? Do you copy? All right. All right.
Is it on? Okay, there we go. Hi. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the University of Northern Colorado and the Mumford College of Business 13th Annual Entrepreneurship Challenge. I'm Emmy Scott, and I'll be your host for this exciting day of competition. A little bit about myself. I'm actually a recent UNC graduate. I just graduated last December with 2 degrees in environmental studies and business management with a minor in communications. I now work as a financial operations director for a nonprofit called Earth Guardians, and I'm really excited to be with you guys here today, and I'm so excited to be back on campus. I also was a winner of the Entrepreneurial Challenge about 2 years ago, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Now I would like to invite Dr. Cher Gibbs, Dean of the Mumford College of Business, to welcome you to this special event.
Thank you so much, Emmy. And thank you all for coming to this exciting event. First, I want to welcome you to the 2022 Entrepreneurial Challenge Finals. My name is Dr. Cher Gibbs. I'm Dean of the Mumford College of Business. And I want to thank everyone who made this event possible today. By participating in the Entrepreneurial Challenge, our students learn from entrepreneurs. They learn from our panel of industry-leading judges, which prepares them to be career-ready leaders once they graduate. I would also like to thank our sponsors for the 2022 Entrepreneurial Challenge. They include JBS, Envirotech, the High Plains Library District, KUNC, Warm Hugs, and the UNC Biz Hub Collaborative. Also, a huge thank you is due to the Mumford family for their ongoing generosity and contribution to our participant prizes. I'm extremely grateful for their continuing support for this program. I want to thank the judges again. These individuals have generously donated their time and expertise to help our participants enhance their entrepreneurial endeavors. Finally, I want to say thank you to Emmy Scott, our alum and our MC for today, Dr. Dallas Everhart, the director of the Entrepreneurial Challenge, UNC Event Services, and our student managers for their hard work and dedication in putting this event together. Presenting today in the collegiate division is Companies Blue Path, Submission Nutrition, Your Pianist, Candy Wear, oh, that's an interesting name, Audition Advocates, and Eclecticism. In the open division, we have SARS Lifting, RD Flows, Horizon Vergis, Gelsana Therapeutics, and Slick Tools. I wish all the best to our participants in this event. Before I invite Emmy back to the stage, I just want to say thank you for reinvigorating the entrepreneurial spirit here at UNC and the Mumford College of Business. One thing that I always like to tell my students is that entrepreneurship is the surest way to wealth and true independence. Entrepreneurship happens to be my discipline. I'm an entrepreneurship professor, so it's a pleasure to see all the great new ventures that will be presented here today. So on that note, I want to invite Emmy Scott back to the podium to introduce the judges and go through the schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbs. We are so thankful for your continued support of the Entrepreneurial Challenge. Now I would like to introduce our judges for today's event. First, Bill Dietrich, Executive Director of SAGE, a Northern Colorado Advisory Network. Jay Anderson, CEO of Top Line Acceleration. Don Brown, member of Rocky Venture Club. Matt Estrin, owner and operator of 477 Distilling and Greeley Hatchet House. Jeff Crabtree, founder and owner of Crabtree Brewing. Matthew Hort, Executive Director of High Plains Library. and Lisa Hudson, Director of the East Colorado SBDC and UNC Biz Hub Collaborative. Before we get started, let's just go over a few housekeeping items. Each open division finalist will have 10 minutes to present their business proposition to our judges and you. The audience and each collegiate division finalist will have 5 minutes. Once their presentation is complete, the judges will have 10 minutes to ask questions and provide suggestions to the presenters. At the conclusion of the judges' questions, the presenters will accept a few questions from the audience, with time permitting. And with that, let's get on our way and let's get started. Please welcome our first presenter from the collegiate division, Blue Path.
Hello, my name is Piper Kurchowski, and I will be talking about Blue Path. So really simply, Blue Path is an app that's connecting students and faculty with their on-campus police to get from point A to point B safely. So I wanted to start by going on a journey that most college students have to take at one point in time. And that's walking home alone at night by yourself. And I know you know where I'm going with this. We see how this plays out in the news. We have headlines of woman abducted on campus while walking, or person assaulted or mugged for X, Y, or Z reason on campus. And so when we look at current campus safety measures, we can categorize them into one of two groups: proactive and reactive solutions. When you think, let me ask you this question: how often are you told to be proactive, and how often are you told to be reactive? Because I would wager to say that you're more often told to be proactive than you are reactive. And that's because when you're when you're reactive, you're being controlled by a situation. And when you're proactive, you're controlling the situation. The nature of most current campus safety solutions is that they are reactive solutions. And that's where Blue Path comes in. Blue Path is going to reduce the number of steps one has to take when you're in a panicked, distressed, dangerous situation. So I'm not having to pull out my phone and fumble to dial 911. I'm not having to stop and evaluate my surroundings to find a blue light emergency pillar to run to. And so I think the best way to demonstrate Blue Path's proactivity is to continue on our journey, but now with Blue Path at our disposal. So I would pull out my phone, I would enter my phone number, it would connect to my campus ID, and then I would sorry. And then I would ping my location of where I'm going to next. And so in this instance, I'm going from the rec center to a dorm room. So I would find my dorm, I would ping the location, and then I'm going to get a warning message saying, hey, don't go yet until you receive a text confirmation from security. Once I receive that text confirmation, I know I'm being monitored in real time, so I can begin on my path. While I'm on my path, I am being monitored in real time. My velocity changes are monitored, how long I'm standing in a certain spot. All while a simple interface is being used, 2 buttons. And while we hope you only have to use the safely made it to location button, that's why Blue Path's proactive. So if I am in a state of emergency, then I just click the emergency button and police will be dispatched to my location, and my video and audio will be streamed and recorded by the police. So in the future, if it needed to be used for like evidence or just to gather more information about the situation, is there. What we hope happens is that you can click the safely made it to location button, in which you would be disconnected from the police and on your merry way. So Blue Path is providing this real-time connection with students and faculty and police. You're not having to be reliant on the current campus safety measures or other people like friends or family members. It's going to provide you a sense of security because they're going to know what danger you're in and exactly where you are. And Blue Path will evolve as technology advances. So it's not going to become antiquated like the blue light safety pillars we see on campus, for example. Those are from the 1980s. Why are we still relying on 40-year-old technology when cell phones are ubiquitous? And additionally, it's providing up-to-date information to schools and universities on what locations on their campus are they seeing increased incidents of crime. Again, another proactive component. So be proactive, control your journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Blue Path. That was awesome. Let's hear it again for Blue Path. So, judges, it's now your turn for any questions.
Can you hear me now? Yep. Great presentation, really well done. Have you talked to students? Have you done any customer discovery or feedback surveys of, does this resonate with your other students?
I have not done surveys to students. However, just through conversations, I have gathered that people a lot of times are not comfortable walking home alone at night, or even myself in some of my experiences. There's certain things that I'm unwilling to do at certain times of night because I'm like, I don't know that I want to be walking home alone at that time. It's just the reality of kind of the current campus safety solutions.
Yes, same positive note on the presentation. I really liked it, the idea. Have you looked into what it would take to implement this on a campus like UNC? What would the security people need to do, that sort of thing?
Yes, so so it would take some developing, having that interrelation between UNC campus security and then also like a software. But the cost of it is not that far. I know you didn't ask directly about the cost, but it's not that far from current, like the blue light emergency towers that are on campus. And a lot of those are being phased out as well because they're not being utilized. I had read an article recently about the University of Indiana, and they had 4 phone calls, legitimate phone calls, on their blue light emergency towers in the past 20 years. So the pros and cons of, is it really, what's the symbolic value of safety versus the actual value for students?
Yeah, my question was going to be around who pays for it, which I think this maybe explains that the college would be buying the app and offer it free to students, or students signing up for the app.
So I foresee this being contracted out to universities for some number of years, licensing the software to them, and then it would be free to students. So I'm sure to navigate buffer the cost, if you will, it would be probably included in student dues.
And then you, in the presentation, there was a picture briefly of a call center where somebody is actually monitoring a screen. Is that required then at every location that the app is being used?
Yes, that would be required, but part of it is to mitigate the expenditures of the campuses. For instance, I've noticed that if you call campus security, for example, sometimes it's like, oh, you have to wait 10 minutes up to an hour or no one's available. And so this would reduce the number of, it would make it more available to students so they wouldn't have to be waiting, and then you wouldn't have to worry about how many people do you have staff for security, for instance, because there can be a select number or a couple number of people that can monitor the screen.
And then my last question, have you started developing the software yet?
I have not.
Okay.
Lisa Hudson. Great idea. I really like this. As a woman who has had to travel at night on campus and elsewhere, I can completely relate to that feeling, that insecurity. And I can believe that this would give some peace of mind to people who want to go from one side to the next. My question for you is, who is your competitor? Is there an app out there currently that does something similar?
Yes, there is. So currently, the competitor that I'm thinking of is called Rave Guardian, but it's more of an emergency proliferation where if something happens on campus, then like then they would like distribute that knowledge there. So if someone, for instance, was mugged, then the university could send that message to students. Also with that app, it's family and friends that are monitoring you. You can connect them. But again, that's a false sense of security, because what is a friend and family member going to do if you're in an emergency situation? Maybe they have your location, but again, that's where I foresee BluePath, for instance, reducing the number of steps that have to go, because you would be connected directly to police instead of to a friend and then a friend to a police. And then the other major one, which isn't an app, would be the blue light safety pillars. Thank you.
Am I understanding correct that the universities who have the blue light emergency towers in place, old technology granted, are they paying something annually to keep that system going, even though it's really underutilized at this point? So, I mean, that to me may be where your budget comes from, right?
Yeah, so currently most annual fees per unit, so per tower, is between $100 and $300. And so depending on the size of the university you have, that can range greatly. I know Penn State, I believe, has phased out of using the blue light emergency towers, and they had spent $1.7 million in the past 15 years on them. And again, weighing how often are they actually utilized, because most students are now calling police instead of running to a blue light emergency tower, for instance. Any other questions?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Just a thought for the future. Have you thought about, once the app's up and live and running, actually handling the monitoring services and offering those is like an add-on to the service?
Oh, I hadn't considered that, but I think that's actually a wonderful idea, because I suppose you wouldn't have to have a monitoring service at your campus, and it could be centralized elsewhere and then connect, kind of like a police dispatch center, essentially.
Doing that too would also probably make it a little bit more feasible for the universities, because they wouldn't have to, bear that cost for the staff.
Yeah, and with training too, then you wouldn't have to train people. Yeah.
From an investment perspective, if I was an investor, how much money do you think you would need to get this thing rolling?
That is a good question. Looking at different app softwares, the cost of development ranges greatly. I foresee this probably being on the higher end of the spectrum, probably closer to 60 grand, to be honest, because of the software needed between the students on their phones and then also with the police or the security centers. So I do foresee it being on the costlier end of that spectrum.
How about the development cost? How much would it cost you if you were going to start this up to develop the software, the apps, and so on?
I do think that to begin, it would probably be in the range of, I'm assuming 20 grand or so, but I'll be honest, I haven't looked into that as much. Thank you.
I think we have time for some audience questions. Awesome. Does anybody have questions for Blue Path? And if you do, you could just raise your hand and we'll bring you a mic, right? Don't be shy. Great. Back there in the back.
Right now it is just me. To go forward, I would need someone who can develop software, and then on the other part of it, marketing, because I think I know that this will be the further will be the next step in technology, just because phones are ubiquitous and that is where technology needs to move. But for sure, someone to develop the app. Thank you. I'm unsure. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent question. I have considered that. That would be, I would have to collaborate with an app, whether that be Google. That's what I kind of foresee it being, Google, just because that can be used on various devices. So that would definitely need to be considered. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Blue Path. You did an amazing job. Now let's welcome our second presenter from the open division, Saris Lifting.
Keeping a job site safe and productive is one of the hardest jobs in the world. Too often, safety is traded for productivity and vice versa. This happens every day. And while the consequences are usually financial, they can also be fatal. This is a personal problem for me because my dad's been in construction his whole life. Before I could walk, I'd been in the operator's seat of a 300-ton crawler crane, and I proudly managed a fleet of Tonka trucks from my bedroom. Thanks to my dad, I've always loved heavy construction equipment, but I've also been acutely aware of the risks that heavy equipment introduces to a job. When my dad was about the same age that I am now, he was nearly killed at work by a piece of heavy equipment. In this accident, the difference of just a few feet would have cost him his life. Despite the introduction of so much new technology, construction remains the most dangerous industry in the United States, suffering from a fatality rate that has not decreased in over 15 years. And poor safety goes hand in hand with poor productivity, something costing the construction industry over $1.5 trillion every single year. The core of this problem is in the planning tools that we use before a job gets underway. Before a project begins, everything can be clearly defined by a sequence of sexy computer models. The problem is that a few years into a project, things look quite a bit different. Every hazard in construction arises from the moment that we make a necessary departure from the initial plan. And this is especially true when we have a large number of specialty subcontractors coming and going from a job site on a daily basis. These subcontractors need planning tools that are agile enough to keep up with a changing job site and smart enough to identify hazards before they impact the safety and the productivity of the construction project overall. Today, I'm going to introduce to you how we are putting this concept into practice with one of the biggest, most expensive, and most dangerous pieces of equipment on any project: the crane, the backbone of any major construction job. These machines rely on careful planning to do their job safely. This is evidenced by the fact that almost 40% of critical crane failures were a result of poor lift planning. And I'm not talking about a broken windshield. I'm talking about hundreds of tons of steel falling from the sky into a busy downtown street. To understand the root cause of this problem, let's take a look at the planning tools used before anything goes in the air. Crane companies must rely on a bunch of disjointed software, handwritten notes, phone calls, emails, in order to piece together a comprehensive lift plan. Furthermore, frustrating communication challenges between all the different stakeholders involved in these operations further complicate the process, exposing everyone to unnecessary risk and consuming valuable time. In fact, a big lift company will spend 250,000 hours a year just preparing for their lifting operations. The problem here is it creates a dangerous incentive to cut corners during the planning phase, exposing everyone to risk. And it doesn't just affect our customer, the heavy lift contractor, but it also affects their customer, the general contractor. Like I said, everyone needs to put in a ton of time to make sure that we're all on the same page before anything goes in the air. My point is, it's not easy. And safety should be easy. Still, it's astonishing that there is no purpose-built solution for this problem. Until now, LiftPro is the first comprehensive heavy lift planning, estimating, and execution software. With LiftPro, safety is easy. We empower our customers to cut their planning time in half while making the whole job site significantly safer. Let me step you through how this product works. First, our mobile-friendly web app replaces note-taking and pacing off of dimensions during the initial job walk. Next, a lift planner or a project engineer can add more detail to the plan, such as rigging design, crane selection, and operator certifications. An optional 3D simulation can be included to clearly demonstrate how the job should play out. When the plan is done, it can be electronically circulated to be approved. Finally, when the crane is mobilized, the operator and his or her team will have a step-by-step mobile-friendly lift plan detailing exactly how things should go. With automated calculations, a mobile-friendly workflow, and collaboration features, we're going to save our customers $300 on every single thing that they pick up. This doesn't include the time savings for their customer, the general contractor, nor does it include the cost of accidents and delays due to poor lift plans and miscommunication. With our industry partners, we are iterating and building out LiftPro every single month. In just a few months, we'll see our first revenue and scale beyond our early adopters to address the broader market. Ultimately, LiftPro can be a test bed to trial more advanced automation and artificial intelligence for construction documentation. We've been out of the building and we've been talking to our customers. Today, we've completed over 100 industry interviews, including safety specialists, general contractors, crane companies, and insurance companies. And I'm excited to share with you today that we actually have 4 letters of intent from crane companies who are using a basic version of our product right now. LiftPro is priced at $1,000 for an owner-operator annually, going up to $30,000 annually for an enterprise customer. Additional planning capacity and 3D modeling are available at an added cost. Like I said, we expect to see our first revenue later this year, and we'll double our customer base annually for the next few years to fully penetrate the heavy lift market. The heavy lifting market is terribly underserved by software, with just a few slow-moving incumbents. These companies have failed to address multiple customer needs. Specifically, they don't offer the ability to work on mobile, nor do they offer the ability to work collaboratively across a team. This is unacceptable for our customers who spend 80% of their time in the field working across massive teams. Anyway, lift planning is about a $500 million market annually in the United States. Globally, there's a much larger and rapidly growing construction market in need of better lift planning tools. On the way to this $5 billion opportunity, there are multiple chances to offshoot to other parts of construction documentation or to exit early to a construction management software company. We're backed by some fantastic advisors with decades of experience in academia, entrepreneurship, software, and construction. I've been around construction my whole life, and I worked a few different jobs in this industry when I was getting my degree in electrical and computer engineering. We're a young company, but I'm extraordinarily proud of our success so far. We've raised some initial capital, we've built a product, we've got it into the hands of our customers. Today, I'm raising $400,000 to get Lift Pro into the market and in the hands of customers by the end of this year. Currently, there's just under 200K of allocation left in this round. I want to meet with investors who are excited about the future of construction technology and passionate about making a difference in the lives of the people that build our world. We're on a mission to make safety easy for the construction industry. I invite you to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Amazing job. Judges, any questions?
Yeah, so the letters of intent basically detail what's been implemented so far in the initial prototype and what we plan to implement in the next iteration of the product, and saying that they are willing to make a purchasing decision based on the successful implementation of those features. Yeah, believe it or not, this started as an automated fire truck ladder. We were building a system for the big rescue aerials to deploy to a window just by taking essentially a laser pointer and pointing and shooting at where you want to deploy. And after some conversations with firefighters, we realized, that this is not something they would pay for. So we said, okay, maybe in construction there's an opportunity. So we started talking to people in construction, and it was probably the 35th interview that somebody said, hey, like, I don't know about automating cranes. I don't know about that, but it was this kind of old school crane manager guy. And he was like, but could you download a load chart into your software? Because load charts are such a pain to read. And that's what got us into this lift planning space and said, oh, there's a huge opportunity here to streamline this process. Definitely. So the question was, what's the strategy for protecting the idea and the IP? I'd say it's twofold. On the legal side, it's essentially trademarking it and getting patents where we can. We do have a patent on the initial boom automation system that inspired this idea, a provisional patent, and we're going to seek the full utility on that. And then not on the legal side, but the other side is essentially relationship building with the other potential competitors, and trying to bring them in close and figure out ways that we can partner and help them in their business, so that they have a lot to gain from our success rather than just re-implementing what we've done. Okay. Yeah, great question. I love this one. So my former co-founder was from India, and we were trying to come up with a name for this company, and it was kind of in the early stage where we weren't sure what we were doing. We were like, he said, well, Saris means crane in Hindi, and it would be really cool if we end up doing something related to cranes, but if we don't, it just sounds like a generic tech company name. So it'll work either way. Yeah, I think the thing here is, we've got all the standard like cloud software security protocols implemented, minus two-factor authentication. The thing here is there's nothing to gain by changing a load chart. These are the specifications for how a crane operates, and what it can do. And, there's nothing to be gained by changing that data. The only thing that I kind of am on the lookout for is if we start processing payments through our software, then that's going to become a much bigger priority, because we don't want our customers being hacked and stolen from. Yes, somebody could, in theory, if they wanted to destroy a job site, they could, go in and hack into it and change, if they could get by, the standard security features we have, and, change the plan so that the crane would tip over. And that's all given. There's a few other fail safes that have to pass. I mean, the operator would have to not realize something's been changed, and the automated safety systems in the actual piece of equipment, those would also have to fail. And that would result in a major accident. Yeah. Okay. Cool. They could still view the plan. So in the demo video, when you type in an email and hit, send, it just sends a link that will let you see like an electronic version of the plan. So that's all those stakeholders will have a copy of that. Thanks. No. So they're free. We've been discussing pricing, but the consensus is they're not willing to pay until a certain feature set has been built out. Yeah. So that was actually on the LOIs. There was pricing on that initially saying, at the end of 1 month, you can start paying for this. And then there was a little pushback. And I said, you know what, we'll leave a number off of it. There's a really great conversation, a lot of great conversations that came out of putting pricing on the LOIs. And we kind of negotiated to what would make sense given features X, Y, and Z. But there was a lot of hesitation around putting their name on something with a pricing on it due to the nature of the industry.
Is this your full-time job? Are you doing something else, or is this it for you?
I do a little dog sitting on the side, but yeah.
That's awesome. Help me, for somebody who doesn't understand the construction industry, how does crane planning make it so that thousands of pounds of metal doesn't fall out of the sky? I mean, you kind of made that connection, but I guess I'm having a hard time seeing how the planning of it would keep a crane from failing when it's working.
Sure. So I'll kind of give two examples. Two scenarios. One is when they're just not doing a plan because it takes too long. I've talked to guys who I ask them, do you write lift plans for your jobs? And they're like, oh, no. If a customer asks for that, I tell them to screw off. Like they're a, modern person that I don't want to work with. There's that kind of attitude that can lead to, going out and just trying to do the lift without doing the physical analysis. And then when it does tip over, the response is, it happens. It's construction. This is normal for our industry. By making it really simple to do a lift plan on your phone, we can hopefully avoid some of those scenarios where they don't cross their T's and dot their I's. Those tend to be on the owner operator end of the market. The other scenario, which is more common across the whole market, and tends to result in those critical lifts, the really major accidents, is they write a lift plan, they get it ready, they send it out, and they get to the job site and things look different. There's a stack of steel, on the crane pad, and they have to set it up to the side. And, when they're under the gun, they're not going to take time to go back and call their engineering department and have that plan rebuilt. They're going to say, we can figure it out. We can get it done. And so the way we address that is by integrating with the general contractor's project management softwares. So like Autodesk or Procore, any of the modern things that are used on the GC side. And so when the